Good evening. And welcome back to Tales That Terrify. I'm your host, Felix Lebeski, and I have lost my script. As we continue our culinary tour through the darker side of life, I must say, some recipes are best left off the menu. Tonight, for Series 3, Episode 12, we have a deliciously wicked little tale from the Hitchcock vault itself. C.P. Donnel Jr.'s Recipe for Murder is a charming yet chilling story about a most gracious widow, Madame Chalon, whose husbands seem to have a rather unfortunate habit of not lasting very long. When Inspector Moran arrives at her beautiful villa to ask a few polite questions, he discovers that her special ingredients might be the secret to her success and her solitude. Like a fine sauce reduced to perfection, the story simmers with suspicion, dark humor, and a twist that will leave you wondering whether the lady of the house is simply unlucky in love or a master chef of a very different kind. So, dim the lights, pour yourself something strong, and mind what you eat, because in this kitchen, love can be the deadliest seasoning of all. Tonight, Recipe for Murder. Just as the villa, clamorous with flowers, was not what he had expected, so was its owner a new quality in his calculations. Madame Chalon, at 40, fitted no category of murderess. She was neither Cleopatra nor Beldame. A Minerva of a woman, he told himself instantly, whose large liquid eyes were but a shade lighter than the cobalt blue of the Mediterranean twinkling outside the tall windows of the salon where they sat. Not quite a Minerva, he decided upon closer inspection. Her cheeks had the peach bloom of 18, and she was of a roundness, a smoothness, a desirability that rendered her, if less regal, infinitely more interesting. An ungraceful woman of her weight might be considered a journeying towards stoutness, but with Madame Chalon, he knew by instinct the body was static with regard to weight and outline, and she would be at 60 what she was this day, neither more nor less. Du bon, Inspector Moran? As he spoke, she prepared to pour. His reflex of hesitation lit a dim glow of amusement in her eyes, which her manners prevented from straying to her lips. Thank you. Annoyed with himself, he spoke forcefully. Madame Chalon made a small, barely perceptible point of drinking first, as though to say, See, M. Moran, you are quite safe. It was neat. Too neat? With a tiny smile now. You have called about my poisoning of my husband, stated flatly. Madame! Again he hesitated, nonplussed. Madame, You must already have visited the prefecture. All Villefranche believes it, she said placidly. He adjusted his composure to an official calm. Madam, I come to ask permission to just enter the body of M. Charles Wesser, deceased January 1939, and M. Eaton Chalon, deceased May 1946, for official analysis of certain organs. You already refused Sergeant Luchaire of the local station this permission. Why? Luchaire is a type without politeness. I found him repulsive. He is, unlike you, without finesse. I refuse the attitude of the man, not the law. She raised a small glass to her full lips. I shall not refuse you, Inspector Moran. Her eyes were almost admiring. You are most flattering. Because, she continued gently, I am quite sure, knowing the methods of you Paris police, that the disinterment has already been conducted secretly. She waited for his color to deepen, affecting not to notice the change. And the analysis, she went on, as though there had been no break, completed. You were puzzled. You found nothing, so now you, new to the case, wish to estimate me, my character, my capacity for self-control, and incidentally your own chances of maneuvering me into talk that will guide you in the direction of my guilt. So accurately did these darts strike home that it would be the ultimate stupidity to deny the wound. Better, a disarming frankness, Maron decided quickly. Quite true, Madame Chalon. True to the letter, but, he regarded her closely, when one loses two husbands of some age, but not old, to a fairly violent gastric disturbance, each within 2 years of marriage, each of a substantial fortune, and leaving all to the widow, you see, of course. Madame Chalon went to the window, let her soft profile, the grand line of her bosom, be silhouetted against the blue water. Would you care for a full confession, Inspector Maron? She was very much woman, provocative woman, and her tone, just short of caressing, warned Maron to get a grip on himself. If you would care to make one, Madame Chalon said, as casually as it could. A dangerous woman. A consumedly dangerous woman. Then I shall oblige. Madame Chalon was not smiling. Through the open window, a vagrant whiff of air brought him the scent of, or was it the scent of the garden? Caution kept his hand from his notebook. Impossible that she would really talk so easily, and yet, you know something of the art of food, M. Maron. I'm from Paris, you remember. And love, too? As I said, I'm from Paris. Then, the bosom swelled with a long breath, I can tell you that I, Hortense Eugenia Villeroy Wesser Chalon, did slowly and deliberately, with full purpose, kill and murder my first husband, M. Wesser, age 57, and likewise my second, M. Chalon, age 65. For some reason, no doubt, was this a dream or insanity? M. Wesser I married through persuasion of a family. I was no longer a girl. M. Wesser, I learned within a fortnight, was a pig. A pig of insatiable appetites, a crude man, Inspector, a belcher, a braggart, a cheater of the poor, deceiver of the innocent, gobbler of food, an untidy man of unappetizing habit. In short, with all the revolting faults of advancing age, and none of its tenderness or dignity. Also, because of these things, his stomach was no longer strong. Having gone thoroughly into the matter of M. Wesser in Paris, and obtained much of the same picture, he nodded. And M. Chalon? Older, as I was older when I wed him, with mild irony, and also with a weak stomach? No doubt, say rather a weak will. Perhaps less brutish than Wesser, perhaps au fond, worse, for he knew too many among the Germans here. Why did they take pains to see that we had the very best, the most unattainable of foods and wines when daily children fainted in the street? Murderous I may be, Inspector, but also a French woman. So I decided without remorse that Chalon should die, as Wesser died. Very quietly, not to disturb the thread. How, Madame Chalon? She turned, her face illuminated by a smile. You are familiar, perhaps, with such dishes as Dindion force os morones, or suprimes de volatile indienne, or tornados mascote, or omelette en surprise a la Napoleonte pain, or potage gratin gras, or aubergines a la Tarcouque, Godefroy de Courle's un belle vue, or Stop, Madame Chalon. I am simultaneously ravenous and smothering in food. Such richness of food, such butchering of all of that food. Yes, I know, I did that. You asked my methods, Inspector Maron. I used these dishes and hundreds of others, and each of them I concealed a bit of. The voice broke suddenly.
We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. SL tonight, Tales That Terrify returns. Please stand by.
Looking for stories that'll keep you up at night? SL Tonight presents 3 terrifying collections straight from the vault. Tales That Terrify, on record. Tales from the Vault and Papers from the Vault. Real horror, real chaos, real entertainment. Available now. Don't sleep on these, or you might not sleep at all. Buy my book! He's right, you know? One more round, 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 round. One more round. One more. Nobby's yelling from the corner. Keep your hands up high. The crowd is roaring, lights are blinding. Sweat is in my eyes. Opponent's tough, he's swinging wild, but I've been here before. One punch at a time, I'm fighting for something more. They said I didn't have the speed, they said I didn't have the power, but I got heart and I got will. This is my hour. One more round! One more round. Get off the canvas, hear the bells sound. One more round! Throw that hook, make it count. Joe Palooka's going down, but he's getting up. One more. Manager scheming, crowd is screaming, ref is in between. Opponents cheating with a low blow that nobody's seen. But I stay clean, I stay mean when it really counts. Left hook, right cross, watch the big man bounce. Down on one knee, count is at 8. Flashbacks to the gym, all those early days. I see my girl, I see my pride, pride, pride. I see the hometown lights. One more round, one more round. This is the moment, hear the whole town. One more round. Knock him out cold on the ground. The hook still hits, Palooka style. Palooka style. Palooka style. Palooka style. One more. One more. One more. Palooka. One more. Palooka.
We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. SL tonight, Tales That Terrify returns. Please stand by and prepare for the next terrifying tale.
Inspector Marone, by a mighty effort, studied his hand as he finished his debonet. You concealed a bit of what, Madame Chalon? You have investigated me. You know who was my father. Jean-Marie Villerose, chef super, matchless disciple of the matchless Escoffier, once called Escoffier's sole worthy successor. Yes, and before I was 22, my father, just before his death, admitted that outside of a certain negligible weakness in the matter of brazing, he would not be ashamed to own me as his equal. Most interesting. I bow to you. Ron's nerves tightened at this handsome woman's faculty for irrelevancy. But you said you concealed it in each of these incomparable dishes a bit of... Madame Chalon turned her back to him. Fine shoulders, he noted, a waist not to be ignored, hips that delighted. He addressed the sea. A bit of my art and no more. That and no more, Inspector. The art of Escoffier or Villerose. What man like Winsor or Chalon could resist? 3-4 times a day I fed them rich food of the richest, varied irresistibly. I forced them to gorge to bursting, sleep, gorge again, and drink too much wine that they might gorge still more. How could they, at their ages, live even as long as they did? A silence like the ticking of a far-off clock. And love, Madame Chalon, forgive me, but it was you who mentioned it? Rich food breeds love, or the semblance of it. What they call love, Inspector, they had me. Nor did I discourage them having also some little friends. And so they died, M. Winsor, age 57, M. Chalon, age 65, that is all. Another silence, one that hummed. Inspector Marone stood up so abruptly that she whirled. She was paler. You will come with me tonight, this evening, Madame Chalon. To the police station, Inspector Marone? To the casino, Madame Chalon, for champagne and music. We shall talk some more. But Inspector Marone, listen to me, madame. I'm a bachelor, 44. Not too bad to look at, I have been told. I have a sum put away. I'm not a great catch, but still not one to be despised. He looked into her eyes. I wish to die. He straightened his shoulders, set his figure at his best as Madame Chalon's eloquent eyes roamed over him in the frankest of frank appraisals. The diet, said Madame Chalon finally and thoughtfully, if used in moderation, are not necessarily fatal. Would you care to kiss my hand, Inspector Marone? What a wicked, clever little gem from C.P. Donnel Jr. It reminds us that some widows have a very particular way of seasoning their marriage, and that the police are always wise to check the kitchen before accepting dinner invitations. As Alfred Hitchcock himself might have said with that famous dry smile, it's amazing how few well-chosen herbs, or a dash of something stronger, can turn an ordinary marriage into something truly unforgettable. The story is a perfect example of why some recipes should never be shared, and why some cooks are best left alone with their secrets. Tonight's tale left you chuckling darkly, or suddenly suspicious of anyone offering you a home-cooked meal. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. These are the stories that make you appreciate a good takeout menu. Thank you for spending this time with us here on SL Tonight. I'll see you again soon for the next chapter in Series 3 of Tales That Terrify. Nunc Dimittis by Roald Dahl. Until then, mind what you eat, watch what you say, sleep well, if you can. Good night.